Hello, folks. Since it's Friday, I went back to the running setup in the background for you. Just want to catch you up on, I had some questions that came up relative to things that we're doing with our building. As many of you know that we sit on a pretty valuable piece of property in Tyson's, thanks to AMT having moved out to Tyson's before there were any buildings in Tyson's, and now it's quite a developed area. In any case, with all these changes and things that are going on with Corona, I'm wondering what's the impact on buildings, what's happening with offices, what does it mean for you guys relative to that building that you're working on? And so it's actually somewhat interesting. Obviously, there's certain delays that are going to certainly happen as folks are figuring out what's happening in the financial space, what's happening with people investing in the buildings. But for the most part, we see that probably just going on for a few months until people get back into the game. It's still going to be one of those areas that's going to be key, even with this whole work from home and people trying to do a little bit less with their office space. We're kind of in a unique space having, being in a position to be building a new building right now, and that you can take a look at all the things that you would want if you were having employees in a building and knowing what would you put into a new building if you had to move. So the fact of the matter is there's people that every year have leases that expire. So there's people that their leases expire in their current buildings end of this year or next year or the year after. And those people that have expiring leases 2 years out have to be figuring where are they going to go. So as we look to build our building over the next couple of years, we of course can put a lot of things into that new building that people are going to want. And so air filtration, being able to integrate outside air filtration systems, being able to add UV light to that, being able to do touchless entries at all the entry points, same with the elevators, using antimicrobial materials in a lot of different locations, changing kind of the meeting and core spaces to look, where are people dwelling and mixing and how do you kind of get the flows and spread. So there's a lot of things you can actually do from the standpoint of being into a new building, much of which we were going to be doing anyway. So if you're some of those people with expiring leases a couple of years out, wanting to move your employees into a slightly smaller building where they actually can have a lot of space that they can actually leverage, spreading out their folks inside that space and have not, a 500,000 square foot building, but ours is a couple 100,000 square feet. So there's not quite the density of people in that building. It's a really unique opportunity for us to be able to fit both the timeline when these leases are going to be expiring for people, but also incorporating the features people are going to want when they think about how do they best position their employees to be in space that's safe and practical and comfortable for them. So a little bit of office real estate for those of you that cared about that. It's not the business that we're actually in at all, but it just happens to be one of the assets that we own, and we work with great people who are capable of managing those assets for us, like our other assets that we actually have. So that's kind of what we've got going in that neighborhood. So with that, at the end of these things, I always seem to get cut off at the end. So what I'm going to go do is just prove that this is a real backdrop and not one of those phony ones. So pretend it's actually over now, and I'm really just stalling now for another few seconds so I don't get cut off. It's real.